Did a chess grandmaster really cheat using vibrating beads? No point beating around the bush too much, is there? I mean, this story took the world by storm. Magnus Carlsen, world's best chess player, loses to some no-name 19-year-old named Hans Niemann. And the best explanation the chess world could muster was that he used the most salacious of suppositories. That's likely the most you heard of the story, right? Well, it's been 3 years since then, and the chess world has been far from without drama. If you just want to know if he did it or not, all current evidence points to no. There's the TLDR. But if you'll stick around, I'd like to tell you the real story of the whole ordeal. The actual details. How things got to that point, the modern evidence, and how it portends to the early death of one of the few truly good people in the chess community. The mere accusation of cheating can ruin someone's life. Whether it's via high-tech lipstick, a well-hidden monitor, or a vibrating toy, the chess world shows this truth in spades. What actually happened with that chess cheating scandal? It's September 4th, 2022. Tensions are high in the place known far and wide as the mecca of the US chess scene, St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, I'm being serious, and no, this giant chess piece is not the sex toy in question. It's the third round of the Sankfeld Cup, and contrary to popular belief, there's actually quite a bit of attention on the game in question. Magnus Carlsen, the undisputed GOAT and current world champion, is on a 53-game unbeaten streak in the classical over-the-board format. Note, over-the-board or OTB just means games that aren't online, and classical means games that are really long and not really short. This is important though because this is considered the prestige format in chess. The best classical player is the best player in the world. The other player in question is 19-year-old Hans Niemann, who wasn't some no-name, but rather a top 10 prodigy who'd been on a bit of a tear as of late, climbing up the ranks with quite a bit of speed in recent months. Though, despite his come-up, most viewed this game as a bit of a write-off for Magnus, because, well, it should have been. It's hard to overstate how good Magnus Carlsen is at chess, because he's like the Magnus Carlsen of chess. On a pure mathematical basis, though not impossible, Magnus should only lose a game like this once every 20 games. For context, in a game against me, Magnus should only lose once every 10,000 times. Which is obviously bullshit, because if Magnus Carlsen can beat a grandmaster whilst looking like this, he could beat my ass while sedated and being actively lobotomized. Anyway, on this fateful day, whilst playing the Nimzo Indian, Magnus Carlsen, whilst playing with the white pieces, which provides a substantial advantage in chess at this level, manages to lose to Hans Niemann, and the chess world went nuts. Not only because it ends Magnus's win streak, but because Carlsen proceeds to withdraw from the tournament next day, accompanied by this tweet. "I've withdrawn from the tournament. I've always enjoyed playing in the STL Chess Club and hope to be back in the future." Alongside this gif.
I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble. And I don't want to be in big trouble.
If it isn't obvious, Magnus is a bit of a rabble-rouser. Obviously, this inspired havoc in the chess community. It was the talk of the town, and everyone was connecting the dots between what Magnus was insinuating. Some untoward mischief had occurred in this game. But if Magnus is saying that Hans cheated, how did he do it? A ravenous search for an explanation, no possibility left unconsidered. It is by this notion that AB, which is how I will be referring to them for the rest of the video, arose. And this is going to be disappointing to hear, but no chess fan or player actually thought that Hans used AB in order to cheat. More rational theories thought that he may have just used like an earpiece or something.
What could you be doing that could possibly be aiding you?
Well, first of all, like an invisible earpiece that people use for exams and so on.
But the joke was so good that everyone was saying it. Chess fans took this joke for everything that it was worth. Which ended up allowing it to breach containment into non-chess circles, which is where it got considered a little bit more seriously, most of all because of Elon Musk. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius, it's a target no one else can see, 'cause it's in your butt. And what did Hans Niemann say about all of this? He said that he got lucky and that he had done some very specific random preparation that allowed him to get an edge in the game. No, not that. This is chess preparation. It just means that he studied and predicted what his opponent was going to do well in advance. Additionally, he had his own take on why Magnus withdrew.
Even if there was a draw,
Yes.
I think he's just so demoralized because he's losing to such an idiot like me, you know? It's just, it must be embarrassing for the world champion to lose to me. I feel bad for him.
Evidently, Hans was not the most gracious of winners. From here, things escalated. Hans was banned from the world's biggest chess platform, chess.com, and bro was furious. Lawsuits because of suspected collusion between Magnus and chess.com because of an upcoming business deal. And this banger of a quote.
They want me to strip fully naked, I'll do it, I don't care, because I know that I'm clean and...
And oh boy, did Reddit have a field day with that one. This entire saga came to a head just 2 weeks later in the Julius Baer tournament, where on September 19th, Magnus and Hans had a rematch. All eyes were on this game. This time, Hans has first move. He has the advantage. Hans, Queen d4, the second most common opening move. Magnus, Knight f6, a common response to d4. Hans, c4, the Catalan. Magnus resigned. Magnus resigning was the pivotal turning point in our story, but it's also the point at which most people stopped hearing about it. Before we continue on though, I think it's important to give a little background of cheating in chess, in the general history of chess, but also for Hans Niemann in particular. Chess is no stranger to cheating scandals, and the way it's been done or accused of happening vary. One thing you can't forget is that computers absolutely kick any human's ass 100 times out of 100. Yes, even Magnus Carlsen. So if someone does cheat, it almost always means that they have figured out some way to get the computer's moves communicated to them at the table. One interesting case was the French national team in 2010, who got the correct moves texted to them from a guy who was sitting at the computer at home. The players' teammates would then sit at certain spots in the arena to communicate this move to them, which is admittedly pretty smart. Another accusation was levied at women's international master Anna Rudolph in 2008, when players alleged that her lipstick was somehow communicating moves to her. That one was not true, and it was her lip balm, and it was actually pretty sad and abusive. In actuality, most chess scandals are pretty boring. It's largely old men checking their phone in the toilet somehow, or if they're playing the game online, it's mostly even more boring, because they just check the game on another tab. Though it's not always more boring, as was the case with Grandmaster Tigran Petrosian in 2020, who after being accused and found guilty of cheating, posted this all-time tweet.
Are you kidding? What the are you talking about, man? You are the biggest loser I ever seen in my life. You was doing pee-pee in your Pampers when I was beating players much more stronger than you. You are not professional.
Another relevant case of online cheating was with Hans himself. This is the precedent that made people so sketch about Hans, and why they were so ready to believe Magnus when he accused him of cheating. AB or not. Amongst all of the pomp and circumstance, Hans was someone who admitted to have cheated on multiple occasions in his past, at ages 12 and 16. Additionally, as I said earlier, Hans's rating had skyrocketed in the months leading up to the tournament. Hans said that he only ever cheated online, that he never did it OTB. But does someone really get that much better in that short a period of time? From being on the fringe of the elite level to beating Magnus Carlsen himself. This is the crux of the argument. There's no question whether Hans did cheat at one point in time. It's the question of if he cheated in his game against Magnus. Did he have his own metaphorical lipstick that was chained into small, vibrating balls and Magnus resigning sent a signal to the chess world. I will not play this man. Cheaters do not belong in our competitive scene. Or as he put it,
yeah, unfortunately, I cannot particularly speak on that. You know, people can draw their own conclusion, and they certainly have. And I have to say, I'm very impressed by Niemann's play, and I think his mentor Maxime Dlugy must be doing a great job.
This might sound innocuous, but when you realize that Maxim Delugi had been caught cheating in 2017 and 2020 in online tournaments, you realize that when Magnus was speaking, he was playing chess, not checkers. Go figure. At this point, things get a lot bigger than one game and some AB. When Magnus said that he wasn't willing to play Hans, it meant a lot. It meant he will not join a tournament if there was any chance that he would play Niemann, effectively saying to organizers, pick me or pick him. And for all that Hans was, he is and was not Magnus Carlsen. Without Magnus, a tournament loses its legitimacy. So, effectively, Hans was barred from competing. And at this point, a bombshell report got dropped by chess.com, indicating that Hans had cheated a lot more than twice when he was a kid. In fact, according to technological experts and high-level technical analysis, Hans had cheated more than 100 times in online games on the chess.com platform, whilst being motivated by personal gain. So absolutely, Hans was cheating online in order to get a higher rating. But here's the thing. There was no evidence for any cheating OTB. There was no smoking AB, per se. And that skyrocketing rating could have been explained by the fact that COVID had just happened, and lots of young players were able to get a lot better due to all the time on their hands. So it wasn't just Hans. So he was looking in the clear. And that's when he did something a little bit dumb. Hans launched a $100 million lawsuit against Magnus, chess.com, and Hikaru Nakamura. One that was ultimately dismissed by the court for being frivolous, but gave us some very, very funny lines.
Notorious for his inability to cope with defeat, Carlsen snapped. Enraged that the young Niemann, fully 12 years his junior, dared to disrespect the king of chess, and fearful that the young prodigy would further blemish his multi-million-dollar brand by beating him again, Carlsen viciously and maliciously retaliated against Niemann by falsely accusing Niemann without any evidence of somehow cheating during their in-person game and demanding that the organizers of the Sankfeld Cup immediately disqualify Niemann from the tournament. Chess.com had not shared detailed evidence with Niemann that contradicts his statement regarding the amount and seriousness of his cheating on Chess.com. These are more trumped-up false allegations specifically designed to further defame Niemann by accusing him of not only being a serial online cheater, but now also a liar. In fact, the very first public comment to this tweet was, "Ha! Hans is a liar."
The lawsuit did not go well for him. He did not get his $100 million, and it was a quiet year for Hans. But on December 12th, 2023, FIDE, the official governing body of chess, finalized their investigation into the incident, trying to put the situation into rest. They found there was not reasonable evidence for Hans Niemann having cheated in any over-the-board games, at least for their 99% confidence minimum. But they also found that Carlsen wasn't guilty on 3 accounts of reckless or manifestly unfounded accusation of chess cheating, attempt to undermine honor, and disparagement of FIDE's reputation and interest. Carlsen was, however, found guilty of withdrawal from tournaments, because he did withdraw from the 2022 Sankfeld Cup after his loss against Niemann. So ultimately, this saga ended with FIDE having fined Magnus Carlsen just €10,000, a bit of a wet fart when you consider the $100 million bounty on his head. But in the time since, Hans has been playing at a pretty consistently high level, despite increased security, which would have been able to find any AB. And we can say that with certainty, as we have this beautiful, beautiful image. But evidently, Hans didn't have any external help. With the lawsuit being over, Hans has been allowed to return to tournaments, and the two have played each other since. Though, unfortunately for Hans, Magnus is still king of chess, with Magnus having won 4 out of the 5 games they played last year. And to round out this part of the video, I'd like to show you an excerpt from an interview that Hans did whilst waiting for the FIDE report to be released.
Out of interest, how do you disprove that you've used anal beads to cheat?
I mean, how could
Congratulations! We've officially reached the part of the video essay where I get to stop talking about boring background information and instead about why this entire situation is actually really fucked up and reflects terribly on us as a society. Buckle up. I want you to take a moment to think about what it would have been like to be that 19-year-old Hans Niemann. The kid who once felt so inadequate at your one true passion in life that you repeatedly resorted to cheating, but have since then devoted your everything to try and turn things around as you enter into adulthood. You get the chance to face the pinnacle of everything that you have wanted to be. To be the underdog who gets to take his shot. You became the David who took his motivation and turned it into a whip, and with a bit of luck, you took down Goliath. 7,269 people have climbed Mount Everest. 642 have gone to space. Only 21 people have defeated Magnus Carlsen in classical chess in the 9 years since he's become world champion. Or it was 21, for with this win, it is now 22. And with your triumph, when you expected cheers, instead you received ridicule and accusation. The ridicule of not just your sporting community, but the entire world, including Joe fucking Rogan, as they accuse your whip of being made not of motivation and determination, but of fucking AB. Which you didn't do, obviously. And whilst the chess players don't take it seriously, they accuse you of cheating in much more subtle, banal ways. If that's better. The public don't know better. The story runs wild, and it's now becoming increasingly evident that this is going to be the thing that you're going to be known for the entire rest of your life. Better yet, you get banned from chess websites and tournaments, earning the ire of your peers. And what is the charge? Playing a good game of chess? This is democracy manifest. How would you handle it? If it were you. I'm older now than he was then. I know I couldn't have managed. Let alone use it as motivation to reach even greater heights and prove my innocence not with some body search, but with more and more wins. I don't like Hans Niemann. As a person, he seems a bit rude and a bit of a bully. But he didn't deserve any of that. And it's a miracle it turned out nearly as well as it did, because a few months ago we saw the other side of what very well could have happened. A world chess champion accuses a young, lesser thought of American player of cheating in order to explain a loss. The younger player does everything he can to disprove the claim, one made with no real evidence, yet the world champion doesn't relent. The American commits suicide at age 30. I want to show you a photo of a man named Daniel Naroditzky, also known as Danya. This is him, with his childhood hero, Vladimir Kramnik, a former world champion of chess. On the 19th of October, 2025, Danya killed himself after relentless accusations of cheating by Vladimir Kramnik. Fuck Vladimir Kramnik. I said before that I don't like Hans Niemann. The same could not be less true for Danya. I played up my emotions for Hans in the last part. The same is not true here. Danya was a beacon of hope and light in the chess community. He is a person who did not dogpile on Hans even when it came out that he was one of the people that Hans had cheated against. He was someone who tried to defend the dignity of others and defend the dignity of the game. Yet, a single determined grandmaster, an absolute piece of shit of a human being, relentlessly attacked him for over a year, alleging that he was dishonest, which he most certainly was not. I don't want to talk too much about the tragedy that occurred with Danya. It's a sore spot for the chess community, and a topic I don't feel comfortable opining on too much. However, I do think it's relevant to mention if I'm going to make a video about Hans and Magnus, because the parallels are there, right? I am not alleging that the situation is the same. For one, Magnus's claims were not entirely unfounded. Hans had cheated in the past. There is no evidence the same is true for Danya, who by all accounts was one of the single most legit players out there. Further, Magnus did not repeatedly abuse Hans. He stayed pretty silent after he made his position clear. Kramnik is an asshole who still has not apologized for driving a man towards his own death. But even Magnus himself acknowledges how much overlap there is between the two situations. It made him resist talking about Kramnik's abuse of Naroditzky publicly, which he now regrets. So whilst I'm personally a fan of Magnus, I do think it's important to consider his actions in light of these events. And if there's anything I'll defend Hans for, it's that he absolutely supported Danya throughout the situation, even if he did take on Kramnik as a mentor. The pressure that was put onto Hans is pretty unimaginable. Magnus was his hero, and because Hans beat him, Hans will now and forever be known as the vibrating AB guy, no matter what heights he reaches. That news was truly worldwide. I mean, you did click the video. And Hans wasn't 30, but 19. And that's why I wanted to consider how the situation was talked about. Because fuck was it a dog pile. And it's a miracle it didn't end up worse. For the last part of this video, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. Why did the situation go so viral? I think the answer to that is pretty obvious. A cheating scandal about sex toys pierces the veil of seriousness that chess is shrouded in. But why did it disappear so quickly? Why didn't you hear more about it? That Hans was found innocent of cheating, and that there was no AB to be found. That a young man died in a situation that bared resemblance to the one that we all laughed at before. Netflix was meant to release a documentary about the incident last year, but it hasn't come out yet. Maybe it will after I release this. Hell, it might already be out by the time I actually publish this video. In which case, that'll be awkward. But if it hasn't, I hope you've learned a bit more about the situation. And if more information does come out from the documentary, I'll try and leave an update in the comments section. Ciao, keep being curious, and thanks for spending some time with me.